Hello, my name is Nicole Engard, and I am the Vice President of Education at Bywater Solutions. Today's tutorial is going to show you how to import batches of MARC records into Koha 3.8. There are many reasons you might need to import a batch of records into Koha. First, if you use an outside cataloging service. Second, when you place orders with various different book vendors, or if you subscribe to some sort of electronic content, often you'll get a batch of MARC records that you then need to load into your Koha system. First thing we need to do, of course, is log into our staff client and then go to the Tools menu. From here, we can use the Stage MARC Records for Import tool. This tool will allow us to bring in a batch of records and put them into our system. So, assuming that you have your MARC file on your computer somewhere, you're going to click the Browse button and find that file. Once you find it, stick it into the importer and click Upload File. This will ask us for some information about the file. Comments. This will appear in a column so that you can easily identify what was in the file. My file name, if you remember, was koha.mrc. That's not terribly helpful, so maybe the name of the vendor and or the date or some sort of identifier that will help you. This is a comment. We'll just put that in there. Character encoding. It's usually best to keep the character encoding at UTF-8, which is the default option. This will allow Koha to identify diacritic marks and make sure that they're imported properly. Otherwise, there are other formats in here if you know that your file is encoded differently. Next, a record matching rule. This is Koha's way of trying to prevent you from importing duplicate records. There are two default rules in Koha: ISBN and ISSN. This will allow Koha to look at the ISBNs in the records and make sure that you're not bringing in a duplicate. It's not foolproof, of course, because we all know ISBNs can be formatted differently or can change over time or could be cataloged wrong, but it's a nice little safeguard. You can add additional matching rules in your administration area. So I'm going to choose ISBN. And then I need to decide what I'm going to do with this record if I find a match. So I can replace the record in my Koha system with this new one. I can add the new one, which will in essence create a duplicate, or I can ignore this new one and leave the one that's on the system. Using this option, I could still process any items or holdings records that might be attached. I'm going to choose to replace the existing record with the incoming, because I know that I'm bringing in a record from a more valuable source. Next, if no match is found, well, I'd like it to add the record so that I can catalog it. Finally, check for embedded item record data. Koha stores item record information in the 952 field. If you know that you have asked your vendor to put a 952 into the record, or if you have put a 952 into the record, you'll want to make sure you choose yes so that you can bring the item records over. If, however, you're bringing in records from an unknown source, you probably want to say no, because you might end up bringing in someone else's holdings records with inaccurate information. So I'm going to say yes, because I know this record came from a system that I know. And then I'm going to choose to add the item. But your other options are to add only if a match was found, add only if no match was found, or ignore the items, which in essence is the same as choosing no above. Next, stage for import. At this point, Koha is taking all of your records and putting them in what is called the reservoir. This is a temporary holding place in Koha where you can review the records so that you don't have your patrons searching them quite yet. The summary from my import says that I have 76 records, there were no errors, 76 records were staged, 76 had a match, and 78 item records were found. All of this is because I actually took this file from my system. So we're going to click Manage Staged Records. At this point, we can see our comments, we can see the file name, the date, the status, which is staged. Staged means they're sitting in the reservoir right now. That means they're searchable by the staff, but not by your patrons. And I can change the matching rule if I want. Down below, I can see a summary of the records. Clicking on the title will pop up a little MARC viewer for me so I can confirm that this is in fact the record I wanted to bring in. And if it matched, it will show you the match and give you a link to the record in your system. My recommendation to you, don't click this link. Instead, right-click and choose to open it in a new tab. Reason is you want to keep this list over here so that you can see it. And you can check and see, is this in fact the same title that you just imported? Once you've gone through and reviewed all of your results, you can choose to import the batch into the catalog. Before you do that, you might want to change the framework. Frameworks are Koha's way of defining which MARC fields are used in the record. Default has the most fields in many library systems, so I usually leave it as default. But if you have a standard in your library, make sure you choose the proper framework before you click the import button. I'm going to click import, and then I will be presented with another summary telling me the status. So it tells me that there were 76 records updated, 4 items were added, and 74 items were ignored because of a duplicate barcode. Koha will not import records if there is a duplicate barcode in the system already. The barcode must be unique. So here we go. I have all of my records brought into the system. Now I can actually view the records on my system by clicking this bib number over here. Once again, it's best to right-click and open in a new tab because you want to keep your list of records so that you can go back and forth. At this point, you can review the content, you can add another item if you want to, you can edit the item you imported. All that information is available to you. At this point, depending on your settings for your search engine, you will probably have to wait 3 to 10 minutes to search for these records. That's why the links are available to you right here so that you can edit them. Your search engine reindexes every, once again, 3 to 10 minutes, depending on how you have it set up. And once it's reindexed, then you'll be able to search for these titles. Until then, you'll just need to come here, click, and edit the records. Once again, my name is Nicole Engard, and this has been a Bywater Solutions production. Visit us on the web at www.bywatersolutions.com.